Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone, and welcome to Marketing New Realities, the most human company wins. My name is Michelle Eisenberg, and I'm a program assistant at the Nasdaq Entrepreneurial Center. And for those of you who may not know, the Nasdaq Center is a nonprofit that is building a better path for entrepreneurs worldwide by improving inclusion, access, and knowledge in entrepreneurship. So as you will see in the chat in a moment, the Nasdaq Center provides programs, resources, and exceptional mentorship to entrepreneurs across all races, industries, and geographies. So definitely make sure to check out those links and resources in the chat. Just a couple of housekeeping items before we get started. First, let us know where you're dialing in from in the chat. And second, we're going to open up for live Q&A at the end of the event. So please make sure to submit your questions for us in the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen throughout the presentation, and we will try our best to get to all of them. Awesome. New Jersey, Bay Area, Colorado, Maryland, Scotland, Honolulu, Iran, Cincinnati, Chicago, welcome, New Orleans. Thank you all for joining. This is awesome. UK, welcome, welcome. And of course, none of what we do could be possible at the center without all of the amazing support from our sponsors, including Nasdaq, Lehigh University, Bank of the West, Airbnb, KPMG, Wilson Sonsini, Woodruff Sawyer, Microsoft Entrepreneurship for Positive Impact, BPM, and HubSpot for Startups. We are humbled by their contributions and hope you are grateful too. And so before we get started, I'm just going to launch a couple polls to step back and see how everyone's doing today. And we use this to guide the development of future programming. So this first one is going to ask, how are you feeling? Fearful, anxious, surviving, or optimistic? Give everyone a few moments to submit a response. Thank you for participating. All right, I'm going to go ahead and end the poll, share the results. All right, looks like optimism is in the lead. That's awesome. But we do have some feelings of surviving and anxious. So we will take that into account with today's session, hopefully address some of those feelings. Gonna stop sharing this poll and launch the second one. What is keeping you up at night? And this one tells us a little bit about your current entrepreneurial needs. Give everyone a few more moments to submit their responses here. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. All right, gonna end this poll, share the results. This is a close one. Okay, wait, sales and marketing are tied, and then finance close behind. Very interesting, but we do have some needs all across the board. So we will take that into account for our future programming. Thank you. Gonna stop sharing that poll, and without any further delay, please join me in giving the warmest welcome to our special guest, Mark Schaefer. He is Executive Director at Schaefer Marketing Solutions. Mark, thank you so much for joining us, and I will hand it over to you.
Oh, awesome. Well, thank you so much. I'm going to share my presentation here. And here we go. All right. Well, first of all, I'm delighted to be here. And look, we're in a really weird time right now, kind of a scary time with a lot of the things in the news if you're an entrepreneur. But I think my presentation today is going to be very energizing. I think it's going to give you a lot of hope because as you'll learn today, I think the time is right. It's perfect for small and medium-sized businesses to win. And especially when it comes to what consumers expect from our marketing and from our businesses. So I'm going to give you a talk today. It really builds on two books that I've written. If you're unfamiliar with me, I've been in marketing for a long time. I've got the gray hair to prove it. And I teach at Rutgers University in New Jersey, in the New York City area. And I am a marketing strategy consultant. I've worked with companies like Dell and Microsoft and Pfizer and Adidas, or I know we have some people from Europe in Adidas is how they say it over there. And I'm the author of 10 books. And we're going to talk about some of the ideas today from two of my books. One is called Marketing Rebellion, and the other one I'll mention later in the discussion is called Belonging to the Brand, Why Community is the Last Great Marketing Strategy. And we'll have some time for questions at the end. If you have questions that occur to you during my talk, just go ahead and put them in the chat. Well, let's get started. I'm going to tell you a little story today that I think sums up a lot of where we are in the marketing world. And like many great business stories, this story begins with soap. But not just any soap. This is the most famous soap in the world. Ivory soap was the first soap ever carved into blocks, wrapped individually, and advertised by Procter & Gamble more than 100 years ago. They advertised so much in America during midday television. That's how we got the word soap opera. It was a very famous product. This was the only soap my mother trusted on my precious little bum at bath time because that's what she saw on television. And if you could believe this, Ivory soap was so dominant. In the 1960s, they had about 50% market share of the entire American soap market. And of course, it's also found in many, many other countries around the world. Now, here's what got me interested. A few years ago, I was reading an article in the Wall Street Journal about how many of these big brands that had been built on advertising were dying. If you can imagine, Ivory soap that had 50% market share was now below 3%. I just couldn't understand it. Procter & Gamble is the greatest marketing company, arguably, in the world. They pay the most expensive advertising agencies. They get the smartest marketing people. Soap, it's not being replaced by solar energy or artificial intelligence. We still use soap. How can they blow it? Then that night, I got my answer. I just read this article in the Wall Street Journal about how all these traditional brands were losing market share. I had dinner at a friend's house. We had a lovely dinner. After dinner, I went into their bathroom and I saw this soap there from the Knoxville Soap Company. I live in Knoxville, Tennessee, a lovely part of America. And I saw this handmade soap. And I'd just been reading about how all these iconic brands were losing market share. I went out into the living room and the lady who cooked me dinner that night, I said, I have a question for you. Can you come into the bathroom with me, please? She got a weird look on her face, but she obliged me. And I said, pointed to the soap. I said, I want to know why you bought this soap. Procter & Gamble has been advertising to you your whole life. Why didn't you buy Ivory or Dial or a famous brand? Why do you love this brand? She thought for a moment and she said, I don't know if I love this brand, but I love the hands that made it. She went on to tell me about the entrepreneurs who had created this amazing company, how they're active in their community, teaching lessons about entrepreneurship. They're so helpful. They're so generous. They're trying to create a sustainable company. They treat their employees so well. The lady I was talking to said, that means so much to me. They use local ingredients. They use honey from a farm just a few miles away from where I live. She went on and on and on. She was so excited telling me the story about these entrepreneurs that it made me want to go buy the soap. And then she said, you mentioned advertising. She said, I can't remember the last time I saw an ad. I watch more TV than I've ever watched in my life, but it's all streaming. I watch Netflix. I watch Disney Plus. I watch Amazon Prime. I never see ads. I listen to music all day long on Spotify, or I listen to audiobooks, probably one of my books. She said, I never hear ads, and I'm listening to music and content all day long. She even mentioned she had an ad blocker on her phone, like 800 million people in the world. So this was quite an interesting idea. And what it's telling us is that today something else is going on in the world. There was no advertising here. There was no big marketing mission. There was not even any Facebook ads. This is one person telling me how much she loves this product. And this is an important lesson. This is a chart from quite a remarkable study done by McKinsey. And it shows that 2/3 of our marketing is occurring without us. McKinsey dissected more than 200,000 customer journeys over 10 years and said, where is the sales happening? It's happening with people talking to each other. It's coming from what people are posting on social media. It's coming from reviews, from testimonies, even from these people we call influencers, who are really just friends. I'll give you an example. When the pandemic lifted, my travel started up again, and I needed a new suitcase. And I remember a friend of mine who's like a travel warrior and buys all the best stuff had posted on Facebook 2 years ago, this is the best suitcase ever. It has a lifetime warranty, and this is the best product you could ever buy. I needed a new suitcase. I wrote him a note. I said, what was the name of that suitcase? He told me the name is blah, blah, blah. I went online, went to their website, bought it. No ads, no branded content, no coupons, because I trust him. The customer is the marketer, and he influenced my sale. And here's an amazing thing. At this very moment, I can't even remember the name brand of the suitcase. It's not like, Samsonite or something you would know, but it doesn't matter. I bought it because I trusted my friend. This is a very important idea about how marketing works in the world today. The mindset isn't about broadcasting and telling everybody how great you are. The proper mindset is earning your way into the 2/3. Now, I should also say this study was completed in 2019. I think it's even bigger than that right now, than 2/3. I could argue that by 2030, this is going to be 90-10. We're mostly going to be buying things not from our marketing messages and our advertising. It's from what we hear from other people. The customer is the marketer. The brand, in this case, the soap company I mentioned, it's the people at the brand. The personal brand is the brand. That's what we love. So let's get into this in a little more detail. I want to talk about these 3 big ideas with some actionable ideas for you. The personal brand is the brand, right? This soap. Think about this. The woman didn't buy the soap because of an ad. She didn't buy it because it smelled good or cleaned better or, anything about the attributes of the brand. In fact, she spent 10 times more on this handmade soap than on Ivory soap because she believed in the person. How did the soap get sold? The customer is the marketer. That's the mindset today. How do we earn our way into the 2/3? And the emotional connection was to humans more than product attributes. Now think about this. Traditionally, a brand like Coca-Cola, they want you to forget that they're selling colored sugar water and creating big ads of polar bears. When we think about Coca-Cola, we think about happiness and friendliness and magic and polar bears because they're spending all this money on these ads. What happens when we're in a world where we don't see those ads as much anymore? The consumption of advertising arguably is down like 95% over the last 5 years because we're moving into this streaming economy. The emotional connection we used to have to polar bears is now connecting to the humans in these companies, which again is good news for entrepreneurs. Let's break this down into these 3 ideas. Number 1, the personal brand is the brand. As I mentioned, I live in Tennessee, but I teach at Rutgers in New Jersey. So I need to stay in a hotel when I'm there. When I go to hotels, I really don't care. I don't have a lot of loyalty to any certain hotel. Just put me up where it's closest to where I have to give my speech the next day, except when I go to Rutgers. I visit New Brunswick, New Jersey, and I always stay at the Hyatt there because of this lady. Her name is Terry. Terry works at the front desk and she knows me. And when I walk through the front door, she says, "Hello, Mr. Schaefer." And a few years ago, I walked in the front door at the end of the year in a blizzard. My flight had been delayed 5 hours. I missed my meetings. I missed my food. I was a frozen popsicle. When I got back to my room that night, I had a cheese and fruit plate, a carafe of wine, and a handwritten note from Terry saying, "Mr. Schaefer, I hope your day goes better." When I checked out the next morning, Terry walked out from behind the desk and she hugged me goodbye. Now, I don't know if that's politically correct, but I liked it. I was so moved by this singular act of humanity. I wrote a blog post about it called "How I Was Hugged by a Brand." Literally, Hyatt loved it, put it on the front page of their website. Terry got a call home the next day on her day off, said, "Terry, you need to come to work and you need to look nice." She gets to the hotel. The president of Hyatt is there to congratulate her, I suppose for hugging me. And 3 months later, Terry was named Employee of the Year. Now, I didn't even get a free breakfast out of the deal, but that's a story for another day because I have very limited time today. The fact is, the only reason I stay at this hotel is because of Terry. Terry is the brand. There's no amount of money Hyatt could spend on marketing to get me to stay at that hotel. I don't see it. I don't care. If I see it, I probably don't believe it. I believe Terry. She is the brand. So it's this idea that you have an advantage in the world if you're known, if you have this emotional connection. Now, when I'm talking about developing your personal brand, I'm not saying you have to be famous. You don't have to be a YouTube star. You don't have to be a TikTok star. You don't have to be like this. Don't try this at home, by the way. Very, very dangerous maneuver. What I mean, known means having the presence, the reputation, and the authority to get your job done, whatever that might be. Create, get capital for your business, get customers for your products, raise money for your nonprofit. If you're known and your competitors aren't, that's a huge advantage. Here's what most businesses are missing and why this is the time for small and medium-sized businesses. We mostly know all this marketing, it's just not being heard today, but we do hear from each other. We do believe each other. How do we enter that 2/3? How do we do something so interesting, so memorable, so unmissable that people want to talk about it with their friends? This is a big idea. If you've got a company with an executive team, I think marketing should be redeployed to support the personal brand. All this money we're spending on advertising that nobody, listens to anymore. Why wouldn't we take our resources, our ability to amplify things, and train people in our company to have the presence, the authority, and the reputation on social media to help get our jobs done, to help sell more stuff, because that's what we trust. There's a famous study done every year by Edelman. It's the trust barometer. For 15 years in a row, trust in businesses, brands, and advertising has declined. But we trust each other. We trust our friends, our neighbors, our family. We trust entrepreneurs, founders, technical experts. That is the message we're going to learn and trust. Now, here's lesson number 2 from the soap story. The customer is the marketer. I'm going to show you a video in a moment that features this guy here. This is Alex Honnold. He was featured in a movie a few years ago called Free Solo. Alex is shown here climbing the north face of El Capitan in Yosemite National Park. If you look closely, he has no safety equipment, no helmet, no rope. It took him 4 hours to climb this rock face with no safety equipment. The people in this rock climbing sport said this was the greatest achievement in the history of rock climbing. It was the moon landing of rock climbing. For a normal person like me, the only thing I could think of was like, how do you explain this to your mother, right? Because it's just weird. I don't want to pigeonhole people, but I mean, this is a little bit crazy. Well, it turns out North Face knows this. North Face had a problem. Their customer base was aging out. The average customer of North Face was 45 years old. They had to reconnect with this younger demographic, and they sponsored Alex and this climb. I'm about to show you a little video. It's about 2.5 minutes long. I think this is the greatest piece of content marketing I've seen in at least the last 5 years. As you watch this, it's going to be it's going to strike you as something very unusual. I want you to think about the things that we've talked about so far about how customers have a different expectation of marketing and businesses. Our customers have the accumulated knowledge of the human race in the palm of their hand. They don't need to be told what to do. They don't need to be manipulated. We need to come alongside them at their point of need. Let's look at this video. There's only 2 sentences in the whole video. They're at the beginning, and the voice you hear is Alex.
It is weird having tons of people questioning your motivations, questioning your sanity.
Miles from nowhere. Yes, I'll take my time. Oh, yeah. To reach there. Look up at the mountain. I have to climb. Yeah. To reach there. Lord, my body. Rain. I won't need it. When I reach the end. From nowhere. Yes. Out from nowhere. Yes, I'll take my time. Oh, yeah.
So I think you'll agree that was pretty unusual. This was posted as a video on YouTube. You can see here, it's received about 8 million views. 7 million of those views were from me because I just love this so much. Now, this is what got my attention. After North Face posted this video, here's one of the first comments under the video. Now, that's how you advertise. Now, we just heard people, they don't see ads anymore. They don't hear ads anymore. They don't believe ads anymore. But here's someone saying, this is how you do it. Now, let's look at this as a case study that can teach us as entrepreneurs. What made this great? Number one, they made the customer the hero. This is one of the biggest problems in marketing advice and content marketing today. Everyone says, start with your story, start with your why. What's the arc of your narrative? Here's the truth. Nobody cares. They only care about their story. Customers care about their why and their narrative. Put the customers at the heart of your marketing, at the heart of your story. Who told this story? The customer. All these little clips that came from YouTube and Snapchat and Instagram all weave together. There's no way North Face could tell this story about what it's like to be in that environment. The customer is the marketer. Now, why do you think they use these negative words and flip them into something positive? They're getting at this idea that these extreme sports athletes, they don't feel connected. That's what Alex said right at the beginning. It is really weird that you have to explain why you do what you do. They don't belong. They're not part of traditional society. They feel alone. And this is what North Face is doing. They're saying, you're okay. You do belong. And specifically, you belong to us. And this is so powerful. The brand is helping their customers feel like they belong. In fact, I could argue this might be the biggest mega trend in marketing today. And this hints at a new book that I have out called Belonging to the Brand. It's the ultimate in human emotional connection when you're in community. What's brand marketing all about? It's creating this emotional connection between what you do and your customers. And this is a huge opportunity being overlooked by almost every business today. What I want to do is help you connect the dots between social media, content, and community. These are different types of marketing you might already be doing for your small to medium-sized business. Everybody's on social media today, right? That's awesome. The power of social media is that you can connect to people who might be interested in you, people who might eventually buy something from you. You can connect to people you never would have known before. I saw some of the people listening to this presentation to me today. They're social media friends of mine from all over the world. That's how we got connected. That's why they're here today, listening to me. So social media is awesome because it represents potential, this reach. Now, here's the bad part. Social media connections, relatively speaking, are a weak relational link. I have about 180,000 followers on Twitter. That's awesome. These are people that, maybe we'll get to know each other someday. It represents potential. If I put a statement out on Twitter, hey, everybody, buy my new book. How many new books would I sell? Almost none. Because it's like throwing a message in a bottle out into the ocean when you're on Facebook or LinkedIn, on Twitter. You don't really know how it's going to go, who's going to see it, but it represents potential. Now, this also can be the important first step in a process. if you can get people from social media to connect to your content and subscribe to your blog, your podcast, your video series, your Instagram account, now you're creating an audience. This is now reliable reach because you resonate with your audience. They say, I believe in you. I'm interested in you. It's okay for you to communicate to me. Now, our level of emotional connection is higher. I have a blog. I have a podcast. If I tell people, my audience on my blog, I have a new book out. How many books will I sell? A lot. Because people want to hear that from me. They're waiting to hear that from me because they're part of my audience. Now, here's the problem. This is where most businesses stop. They don't take their audience through the process to the next step. This is your community. This is where you really have powerful influence. I have a community called Rise. It's for people who are interested in the future of marketing. I have a couple hundred people in this community. Now, if I tell the people in my community, hey, everybody, I have a new book. How many people will buy the book? Everyone. Not only will they buy the book, they will buy multiple copies of the book to share with others. They will leave reviews. They will promote the book all over social media. This is organic advocacy. This is entering the 2/3. Remember the 2/3 chart? I am entering the 2/3 because I'm not telling the story of how good my book is. Other people are. This is the greatest marketing you could ever have. It's better than any ad you could ever create. It's organic advocacy. Let's go down and make this a little bit more granular because this is confusing to some people. This might be news to you that you have an audience, but it's not really a community. A lot of people use these terms interchangeably. They think, well, I've got this group of customers. That's my community. I've got these followers on Twitter. That's my community. But maybe not. What makes community different? There's 3 distinguishing ideas. Number 1, there's communion, meaning people know each other. The people who read my blog don't know each other. They don't know they're out there. In my community, people know each other and they become friends. This is the ultimate in emotional connection for a brand because the friendships that people create, they work together, they co-create, they collaborate, they get to know each other. That creates a layer of emotional switching costs between you and your competitors. If people want to leave your brand, that means they leave the community, they leave their friends. They're never going to do that. When people are in a community, they literally belong to your brand. Now, most great marketing is built around some point of differentiation. If you are a small business, if you're a deli, you might say, we have the greatest selection of deli meats in the tri-state area. That's wonderful. But that's not a reason for me to gather with you. That's not a reason to be in a community. So community is driven by purpose. What can I do as a business? How can I have a better impact if my customers come alongside me? An easy example for people to think about is Patagonia. For most people, when I say Patagonia, you think about environmental responsibility, responsible outdoor activity and fun. You know that Patagonia believes that to the very core of their company. I have a friend who told me, I only buy Patagonia, even if it's more expensive, even if it's maybe not even as good as the other brand, because I share this purpose. I belong to that brand. Third idea is that this reason for people to gather, it's evolving because the world evolves. In my community, we're starting to talk about artificial intelligence. We're talking about all these new ideas with ChatGPT and the metaverse. That's not what we were talking about a year ago. But these new discussions, they're helping me be more relevant. They're teaching me how to be a better marketer, how to be a better public speaker, how to be a better writer, because I am relevant. I am more relevant. You, as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, as a brand, your job is to be relentlessly relevant. My community is teaching me how to be relevant. Think about scaling that across the brand. If you've got people from all over the world telling you new ideas, new ways to be relevant. Very briefly, and we're getting to the end here. In about the next 5 or 6 minutes, I'll finish up and we'll turn this over to questions. So please go ahead and add your questions in the chat or in the Q&A section. I wasn't paying attention very carefully, so I don't know which. I'm sure either is going to be okay, because Nasdaq is awesome and they will protect me here. So there are 3 big megatrends coming together. And this is why I say community, it is the next big thing. And I'm not alone in this. There have been several research reports coming out, in the last few weeks, they're saying community is the next big thing in marketing. Why? Reason number 1. This is something we already talked about. Our old marketing doesn't work anymore. We need to find ways to enter the 2/3. That we need to do something so interesting, so compelling, so unmissable that people want to talk about us with their friends. We can't just do ads anymore. We're watching The Mandalorian. The new season is out. Go watch it, everybody. There's no ads. As I said, the consumption of advertising is probably down 95%. I just saw yesterday a statistic that people who block TV ads, skip TV ads, or walk out during TV ads, I think the percentage has doubled in the last 12 months. It's this incredible number. So reason number 1, we've got to find some new way to connect with our customers. Reason number 2, mental health crisis. This was a big reason I wrote this book. I saw this headline in the New York Times years ago. It said, the loneliest generation, talking about our children, talking about our teenagers. It's absolutely heartbreaking. I mean, there's something big, something huge going on here. There's record levels of loneliness, isolation, depression. I mean, you've probably seen the stories. It's in the news every day. Now, this book that I wrote, Belonging to the Brand, this is a business book. It teaches you an important new way to look at marketing. However, it also helps our world psychologically, sociologically, even for our physical health. We need to belong. We need to be part of community. Community is a type of marketing that works. It's also a type of marketing that heals. And I think that's something to be very excited about. Now, the last piece of this, these 3 big megatrends coming together to tell us this is the time for community, is all the millions of dollars being spent right now on new technology to help us connect and gather in new ways. Some of the things you might have heard: Web3, tokenized communities, NFTs, the metaverse. I don't think anybody really has a good explanation of what Web3 is. They're all kind of different. But here's the only thing you need to know. All these new spaces being created by Silicon Valley, or at least they were before the bank collapse. I assume it's still going to happen. All these new spaces being created, all this investment, it gets down to one thing. It helps people connect and belong in community in new ways. Let me give you an example. My community is spread out all over the world. We meet on the metaverse. You can see here, this is one of our parties. This is my penthouse in the metaverse. Still have not explained to my wife why this is on our credit card, that I actually have a fake penthouse on the metaverse, but that is another story, also for another day. Nasdaq's just going to have me back, I guess. So you could see here, we start our party by dancing. There's these things over my head. That's the back of my head there. It looks like blocks of gold. No, it's butter. Why? Because I'm churning butter. If you look really closely, people's arms are going through other people's bodies. We still have a lot to learn. We learned how to clap last time. That was a big breakthrough for us. Now, at the end of our last party, we learned we could get into the hot tub in our clothes. And here I am with other people from all over the world. There's people here from Australia and Belgium. Other people joined us from Ireland and from Germany. And we're sitting in this hot tub having a conversation with our clothes on. And the fake sun is setting over the fake mountains. And this is beautiful. And this is sublime. And it just was amazing. And people took pictures of this and they posted it all over the internet. And they said, look what we're doing in this community. Look what we did today. And here's what happened. People from all over the internet wrote me and said, I feel like I'm missing out. This is an amazing thing that you're doing. Can I join your community? The customer is the marketer. No one's going to believe my story, but they're going to believe each other. Now, let me finish up my presentation today with a small example of an entrepreneur who's using community in this amazing and visionary way. This is my friend Dana Malstaff. Around 2015, she was an entrepreneur, had this great business going, and Dana became pregnant. And she was torn because some of her friends were saying, you've worked so hard on this business, you can't give up. And some of her friends were saying, but you're going to be a mom. You've got to devote your energy toward your children. She said, I want to do both. I want to do both. She started having conversations with her friends in a Facebook group. And they said, yeah, we want the same thing. And we don't really feel supported. We don't really feel like anybody understands us. Dana said, let's start our own group. We'll call it Boss Mom. That was in 2016. Here's where we are today. Dana now has 80,000 members in her group. She has about $1 million in revenue, and her business is almost doubling every year. She is offering courses of support, events, consulting. She has a premium paid membership in her community. Now, here's the part that's going to take your breath away. This is a fast-growing, profitable business. She has no sales department. She has no marketing. She has no marketing budget because she has this powerful personal brand. People believe, they know, they trust. She has the reputation, the authority, and the presence to be connected. There are things going on in this community that are so incredible and so exciting. They're bringing their friends in. They're bringing other people they know into this community because they feel validated. They feel heard. They feel worthy. The customer is the marketer. The personal brand is the brand. Community is the last great marketing strategy. It's the ultimate marketing. As we see here, it's marketing. Without marketing, Dana will never have to spend a cent on Facebook ads, SEO, or branded content because of what she's doing with her personal brand. Community, it's the ultimate marketing. It's the ultimate connection, provides the ultimate meaning. It's the ultimate marketing, really without marketing. This is our future. My friends, thank you so much for being here today. I never, ever take it for granted when people spend time with me on my content. So thank you so much. And I'll turn it over to Michelle and Anna and try to answer a few of your questions.
Mark, that was so amazing. Thank you so much. Honestly, you started out kind of saying, I hope this gives you hope. And I was really smiling a lot of that presentation. So thank you for that dose of optimism. We have a lot of questions coming in, so let's jump right in.
Just one other little question, that if I don't get to your question, you can find all my contact information on the website here, Businesses Grow. If we don't get to your question, send me an email and I'll answer your question. I'll answer everyone's question.
And we'll put those links to connect with Mark in the chat as well.
Okay.
Yeah, let's jump right in. So, you gave this kind of great overview of like the presence, reputation, and authority that you want to establish. So like for a startup or small business just starting out, it may seem like kind of a big feat to generate authority in an industry where there are already more well-established businesses competing. So could you maybe give an example of a company that was able to kind of like successfully build authority early on and how they did that?
Yeah, sure. First of all, it's a very simple process. And this is a book I did not mention today, but I wrote a book called Known.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the best-selling book on personal branding. And it gives you the 4-step process to do this. This works, and it's accessible to everyone. And the key for any small business is to be really clear about what you want to be known for. And then you kind of show up in a way with content. So, I mean, there are many great examples today. And by the way, this is another reason why this is the time for small to medium-sized businesses. Mm-hmm. Who is the person you love at Procter & Gamble? Who's the person that you love at Verizon? And Michelle, as I'm saying this, I'm hoping these people are not your sponsors. But it's not to say that we can't love these companies and they can't be doing good work, but you are the founder, you are the face, you are the brand. And mm-hmm. that is profound, and that is powerful, and that is something they will never have. So it's about saying, what do I want to be known for? Where am I going to show up? And how am I going to create content consistently with an audience that matters? Right. And it's not necessarily quick, and it takes work, but it does work. An example of a brand I love that has done this very effectively in the consumer product category is Glossier. Glossier was started by a blogger. Oh. Emily Weiss, she was a blogger, and her blog audience kept saying, these big cosmetic companies, I hate the way they treat us. They show all these beautiful people and these beautiful bodies. We're never going to be like that. Why can't they just treat us like friends? And Emily started a brand called Glossier, fastest growing, skincare cosmetic company. And it's built 100% on the things I talked about today. Right. I'm trying to be short so we can get a bunch of questions in.
Yeah, no. That's amazing. Thank you. There's this concept of authenticity that's, tossed around a lot, I think, in business jargon these days. And there's kind of like, I think, a blurred line that's hard for businesses to decipher in terms of like how to communicate that authenticity, like in terms of like it appearing as genuine authenticity, or just like, oh, I know what my customers value and I'm going to use that to connect with them. So how can businesses bring forward that authenticity behind the purpose of why they're doing the work they're doing into their interactions with potential customers?
Okay. So, I could talk a long time about that, but let me keep it really, really short. Yeah. I think in this new world, the most human company in your niche will win. The most human, cosmetic company, the most human symphony, the most human university. And that starts by looking at what you're doing in your marketing. And if you're doing things that people hate, stop it.
Right.
and double down on what people love. And what gives me a lot of energy is the young people today, they get it. They do. They're teaching us a new way to market. In my Marketing Rebellion book, it has tons of case studies. Almost every case study in that book features somebody under the age of 30. They're teaching us how to do it. So look at every touch point with your customers, your emails, your text, your complaints, your meetings, your website, and look at everything you do and say and think, how can we be more human? How can we show our faces, our hearts, our smile? I want to see a little video on your site saying, I am the founder of this business. Let me tell you why I'm here. I live this. I breathe this. I will never let you down. You can count on us. And if you have a message like that, you're going to beat everybody else. You're the most human company in this space. So it's not that hard, but it just has to be intentional.
Right. I love that, because that's kind of like a question you can consistently ask yourself, like, how can I make this interaction more human? And it's really so widely applicable to all the decisions that you're going to make as a business. So that's awesome. So you gave the example as Patagonia, as, you know, a business that's created a community and this amazing sense of belonging for its customers. Do you have any examples, just like in a little bit more detail, about some of the ways that they've done that so successfully?
So let me switch gears, because Patagonia is kind of a famous example, and you know, it's kind of sexy, right? And one of the questions I get is, look, you know, I don't really have a very sexy company. Can I really do this? And I thought about this a lot. And here's a one-word answer I have to that. Yeti. Like 7 years ago, I started noticing people wearing shirts that said Yeti and hats that said Yeti. I'm thinking, wait a minute, isn't that an ice cooler?
Right.
It was a $400 ice cooler. And for the first 5 years of that company's history, they didn't spend one dime on an ad. It was 100% word of mouth. What is word of mouth? 2/3, right? 100% community. And it's unbelievable. I gave a talk not long ago, and there were these people from a university there, these students. They wanted to take a picture with me. They took a picture, and the young woman taking the picture had this phone. On the back of the whole phone, it said Yeti. I just got to ask you, why? I mean, she can't have that much money to be buying all this Yeti stuff, right? She starts telling me what they stand for, what they do, how she's part of this outdoor community. She belongs to the brand. They're never going to have to take out an ad to convince her again. She said, I don't have that much money, but every Christmas, I buy a Yeti product for my family for Christmas. So, I mean, this is inspirational to me, because if Yeti can do it with an ice cooler, almost anybody could do it. So, I mean, there's lots of examples I could give you, but that's the one I think that kind of blows my mind.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's awesome. And then, you know, you gave this really amazing overview of kind of like a journey of how kind of like customers do become part of that community through social media and content. So like, when you have that social media presence already kind of established, what are some kind of innovative ways that you've seen businesses use their social media to connect customers to that content and start to build that audience?
Yeah, that's such a good question, because you know, there's something different going on, and maybe this will resonate with the people listening today. I mean, the things that worked even like a year or two ago, where people brands are trying to be like funny and snarky, it's just falling flat. You know, and I think it has to do. So let me connect the dots with something I just learned like this week. So I have a friend who studies Gen Z, and she said, authenticity, nobody really wants to use that word anymore.
Mhm.
She said, what I'm seeing on social media that's really connecting is unfinished, maybe undone.
Hmm.
I think unfinished is the new authenticity. And I think if you just say, look, I don't have all the answers, and this is good news for me because I'm so undone.
Right?
I'm so unfinished. I am the poster child for Gen Z authenticity. But I think if you're humble and vulnerable, I think vulnerable is the key word. To
Mhm.
say, look, I'm not perfect. I'm just trying to learn. I mean, I'm not an expert. I'm just trying to navigate all this just like you. That's certainly my view of the world.
Right.
I think that's what's going to work, is just not polished, not shiny, not Hollywood, not snarky,
Yeah.
but just a little undone.
Mhm. Yeah, no, that's a really interesting take. And I've never really heard it described that way. I've kind of, witnessed it in my own interactions with social media, but that's an amazing way to describe it. Amazing. So we are just out of time, but if you had one key takeaway that you wanted to leave with the audience, something from the presentation, something, just a personal piece of wisdom, anything, what would that be?
Well, first of all, I just need to thank you and everyone at Nasdaq, and thank you for the sponsors for making this happen. It's a wonderful, wonderful series of talks. I mean, I saw who's coming up next, like Charlene Lee. Charlene's like one of my heroes. Don't miss that talk, right? You've got great, great talks coming up. So I'm honored to be here, and I'm so appreciative of everyone listening today. I mean, the thing I would leave everybody with is just this idea of be more human. I mean, it really is that simple. I know we covered a lot of ground today in a short period of time, but just take a look at everything that you're doing and show your heart, show your passion of what you're doing, show compassion. Don't just be in a community, be of a community. Let's go back to the soap company. They just weren't giving a donation to the United Way. They were showing up and teaching in their community. Don't be in the community, be of the community. The most human company wins.
Amazing. Thank you so, so much for taking the time to speak to our community, share all of these insights, and set just the most amazing overview. On behalf of the Nasdaq Entrepreneurial Center and everyone in attendance today, we sincerely thank you for joining us.
Thanks, everyone.
And to our audience, we would love for you to join us for upcoming webinars. You can view the upcoming events by using the link that's going to be posted in the chat. And thank you all so much for joining us today. We look forward to welcoming you back online with us soon.